And during today's cabinet meeting, Secretary of Housing and Urban Development Scott Turner said home sales are up under President Trump. But what about the nation's shortage in housing? I spoke. Mr. Secretary, nice to see you, sir.
Great to see you, Greta. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, you have a very important job because owning a home, for instance, is the American dream. It means so much to so many people. And so I want to ask you a few questions. I hear that there's a housing shortage. How is it that we have a housing shortage at all different levels of income and prices?
Yes, ma'am, Greta, you're exactly right. There's a couple reasons. Number one, when we came in with President Trump last year in January, our fiscal house in the United States was a complete mess. Interest rates were high as pertains to mortgages. The inflation was high. Affordability was at an all-time low. And so when we came in, number one, what we wanted to do is take down burdensome regulations that were crippling building and development. Yes, from a federal level, we took down the affirmatively further and fair housing rule and restored local control back to municipalities, back to local leadership. Also, from a local and state level, we've been encouraging leaders to look at their burdensome regulatory environment to help unleash building and construction and development. Greta, we need about 7 million units of housing in our country, single family, multifamily, manufactured housing, duplex. And so we've been working very hard under President Trump's leadership to tear down burden regulations, to get the interest rates down, to bring mortgage rates down, which are at a multi-year all-time low right now, helping more people afford homes. You know, I've had young people when we first came in said, how am I ever going to be able to afford to buy a home? But there's good news on the horizon as you see some of these policy changes being made and the economy thriving under President Trump.
Well, I obviously live in a very expensive city, Washington, D.C., but I'll tell you what stuns me. I know a handful of people who pay enormous rents for very modest apartments that are much more than any mortgage payment on a home, but they can't get the money for a down payment. That's something that hurts young people, but also helps people who've been making their rental payments for the last 20 years. Is there some sort of government program just to help with the down payment because they can pay the higher rent, so they can certainly pay the lower mortgage payment?
Yes, Greta, that's a great question, and I'll touch on that. But I wanted to also bring up the fact that, you know, when you have 12 million or more illegals coming across our border that have been unchecked and unvetted, when you come in, that helps, that hurts the housing supply. It makes the cost of housing go up. In certain cities around our country, in particular LA and New York, 100% of the increase in rental demand is because of illegal immigration. And so we've been taking measures at HUD alone to make sure that any HUD funds that go to pertain to housing are for the American people and American people only. The president has taken bold action, as you've seen, in banning institutional investors from buying up single-family homes. These homes are meant for American families and not institutions. Also, working with Director Pulte over at FHFA to buy $200 billion of mortgage-backed securities to bring down the cost of borrowing. And so as you've seen, there's bold action taking place, not only on the rental side, but also to help people in America to be able to afford to buy a home. And as far as down payments go, we've had many discussions for down payments.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you for a second. I didn't mean that. But so tell me, what discussions or what can these people who need those down payment help, who are really reliable, work hard, they're basically middle-class people looking to buy a home, I mean, what can the government do to help there?
Yes, ma'am, and it's okay. You can interrupt me anytime. So what we've been working on is finding ways for hardworking Americans to be able to use their finances. And I don't want to get ahead of the president and some of the other leaders in our administration, but find ways to use money that they've earned and saved in order to help them to put a down payment on a home. And so one thing that will help that is when you bring the mortgage rates down, you know, people can borrow money at a lesser rate, and so you don't have to put as much down. And so all of these things working in conjunction, I believe, the president believes, and others, that that'll help people not only with their down payment to be able to afford to get in a home, but really to achieve the American dream and start creating wealth for their family.
Are the banks helping? I mean, you know, they want higher interest. They want the higher payments, but that's not going to put people in homes. That's going to keep people out of homes because they need to be able to borrow the money to get into the homes.
Yeah, I think there's been great collaboration. Obviously, I don't work with banks on a daily basis. I hear some of the conversations here and there, but I do believe that our financial institutions understand the issue that's going on in our country as it pertains to people being able to afford to buy a home. Interest rates, as you've seen, have come down. They need to come down more. Mortgage rates have come down. They need to continue to come down. So I would say that there is great collaborations from the community bank standpoint, the local bank as well as the big banks. But there is still much work to be done. But I think there's great conversation. I think there's a consensus. There's strategies that are being talked about because the American people matter. And buying a home, it is very important for all of the people that call this great country home.
Mr. Secretary, thank you, sir. And I do hope you'll come back because it really is. I mean, if you can own a home, it's where all your dreams are. It's where all your equity is. It's a lot. It's so much a part of the American dream. So, you have a very important job. So I do hope you come back, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Greta.
Folks, I thank God for my wonderful wife, my kids, my country, the greatest nation ever. And Americans like you who believe in the truth, the Chris Salcedo Show will never stop fighting for you.
The Chris Salcedo Show, for the news you need to know.